Naomi Carter did the wrong thing that night. At least, that was what everyone would say later. She was not supposed to look. She was not supposed to notice. And she was never supposed to interfere. But Naomi had learned something early in life. Sometimes, doing the right thing looks like doing the wrong thing first. Naomi was a maid. She cleaned rich people's houses for a living. She scrubbed shiny floors until her back ached, and washed dishes until her fingers wrinkled. She dusted things that cost more than her monthly rent and stayed quiet even when she wanted to scream. She spoke only when spoken to. She kept her eyes low. She followed rules. That was how she kept her job. That was how she fed her child. Naomi was 27 years old and lived in a small apartment on the south side of city with her 7-year-old daughter, Kayla. Their apartment was small and old. The heater made loud noises at night, and the bathroom sink leaked sometimes. But it was home. Kayla filled that home with laughter. She laughed loudly. She asked many questions. She believed her mother could fix anything. Naomi wished that were true. Every morning, Naomi woke Kayla up gently. "Rise and shine, baby," she would say, brushing Kayla's hair away from her face. Kayla would groan and pull the blanket over her head. "I'm still tired," she would mumble. Naomi would smile and tickle her feet. "School won't wait for you." Naomi helped Kayla brush her teeth, fixed her hair neatly into 2 puffs, and packed her school lunch. Some days, it was a peanut butter sandwich and an apple. Some days, it was just crackers and juice. Kayla never complained. "You're the best, Mommy," Kayla said one morning, hugging Naomi tight. Those words were Naomi's strength. She carried them with her all day. That morning, Naomi walked Kayla to school, kissed her forehead, and waited until Kayla waved from the door. Only then did Naomi turn around and head to work. She worked in a large house owned by Mr. Lawrence Whitman. Mr. Whitman was a powerful man. He was rich, well-connected, and used to getting what he wanted. His house sat in a quiet neighborhood where the streets were clean and the lawns were always green. The house had shiny marble floors, tall windows, and rooms Naomi was not allowed to enter unless she was told. Mr. Whitman did not shout. He did not joke. He did not thank people. He expected perfection. "Do it again," he would say if he saw one small mistake. "Yes, sir," Naomi always replied. That evening, something felt wrong. Naomi noticed it while polishing the long dining table. The house was too quiet. No music, no laughter, just the sound of footsteps and the ticking clock on the wall. Mr. Whitman kept checking his watch. He walked in and out of the kitchen. His jaw stayed tight, and his phone never left his hand. "This dinner is important," he said sharply. "Be careful tonight." "Yes, sir," Naomi answered. Extra candles were placed on the table. The expensive plates were brought out. A special bottle of wine was set on the counter, far away from the others. A guest was coming. His name was Ethan Brooks. Naomi didn't know much about him, only that Mr. Whitman suddenly cared a lot about every small detail. The house had to look perfect. The food had to be perfect. Nothing could go wrong. When Ethan Brooks arrived, Naomi felt the air change. He was tall, calm, and well-dressed. His suit was dark and clean, and his shoes looked brand new. He did not speak loudly, but when he spoke, people listened. Mr. Whitman smiled wide for the first time that night. "Mr. Brooks," he said warmly. "Welcome." Ethan Brooks nodded. "Thank you for inviting me." When Naomi brought him water, Ethan looked at her. "Thank you," he said. Naomi almost froze. Rich people did not thank maids. They usually acted like maids were not there. Naomi nodded quietly and stepped back. Dinner began. Naomi moved around the room, serving plates, refilling glasses, and clearing crumbs. The men talked about business, buildings, and money. Naomi could not imagine. She stayed quiet. She should not have noticed anything. But she did. At one point, Mr. Whitman stood up. "Excuse me," he said. "I'll be right back." He walked into the kitchen. Naomi followed behind to collect empty plates. She stopped suddenly when she saw Mr. Whitman standing by the counter. His back was turned slightly. His hand was inside his jacket pocket. Naomi's breath caught when she saw him pull out a small bottle. It was tiny, smaller than her thumb. Mr. Whitman looked around quickly. Then he opened the bottle and poured something into the wine glass meant for Ethan Brooks. Naomi's heart jumped so hard, it hurt. She did not breathe. She did not move. What did I just see? She thought. Mr. Whitman closed the bottle, slipped it back into his pocket, and turned around. His eyes landed on Naomi. For a second, neither of them spoke. "Naomi," Mr. Whitman said calmly, "take the wine to the table." His voice was smooth, but his eyes were cold. Naomi picked up the tray with shaking hands. Her mind raced. If she spoke, she could lose her job. If she lost her job, Kayla would suffer. If she stayed silent, someone could be hurt. Her feet felt heavy as she walked back into the dining room. Ethan Brooks smiled politely and reached for the wine glass. Naomi's chest tightened. Before she could change her mind, she stepped forward and knocked the glass over. The red wine spilled across the white tablecloth and onto the floor. "I'm so sorry," Naomi said quickly. The room went silent. Mr. Whitman's face turned dark with anger. Ethan Brooks stood up slowly. He looked at Naomi, then at the fallen glass. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he gently pushed the glass away. "It's fine," he said calmly, but his eyes stayed on Naomi. And in that moment, Naomi knew two things. She had just protected a stranger, and she had just made a powerful enemy. She did not know which one would cost her more. Naomi did not sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the red wine spilling across the white tablecloth. She heard the glass breaking. She saw the look in Mr. Whitman's eyes. Not anger, something worse, promise. She lay still on her narrow bed, listening to the soft sound of Kayla breathing beside her. Kayla had crawled into her bed earlier, like she always did when she sensed something was wrong. Naomi held her daughter close. "Please, let today pass, quietly," she prayed. Morning came too fast. Naomi woke Kayla up, fixed her breakfast, and walked her to school like always. She smiled. She waved. She acted normal. But her hands shook the entire time. At work, the house felt different. Too quiet, too watchful. Mr. Whitman did not greet her. He did not scold her. He did not say a word. That scared her more than shouting ever could. Naomi cleaned slowly, carefully. She noticed things she had never noticed before. Security cameras in corners, doors that stayed locked, the way Mr. Whitman spoke quietly on the phone and stopped talking when she entered the room. By afternoon, her nerves were stretched tight. Then the doorbell rang. Naomi looked up. Mr. Whitman's voice came sharp and sudden. "Stay where you are." Naomi froze. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. A man's voice followed, calm, deep, steady. "I'd like a word," the man said. Naomi knew that voice. "Ethan Brooks." Mr. Whitman forced a smile. "Of course. Come in." They moved into the study. The door closed. Naomi stood still, her heart racing. She should not listen, but she did. "Was an accident," Mr. Whitman said quickly. "A maid's mistake." Ethan's voice stayed calm. "Maybe, or maybe not." Silence followed. Then Ethan spoke again, slower this time. "I had the wine tested." Naomi's breath caught. Mr. Whitman laughed nervously. "Tested? You're being dramatic." "The glass," Ethan said, "had something in it. Something that could have ended very badly." Silence. Long. Heavy. Naomi pressed her hand to her mouth. "I don't know what you're talking about," Mr. Whitman finally said. "You do," Ethan replied. "And so does your maid." Naomi's heart dropped into her stomach. Footsteps approached. The study door opened. Mr. Whitman's eyes locked on Naomi. "Leave," he snapped. Ethan raised a hand. "No, she stays." Naomi looked at Ethan. For the first time, fear flashed across his face, not for himself. For her. "Naomi," Ethan said gently, "did you see something last night?" Naomi swallowed. Her voice came out small. Mr. Whitman stepped forward. "You will say nothing." Ethan turned slowly. "Threatening her won't help you." "She's my employee," Mr. Whitman hissed. "She'll do as she's told." Ethan's eyes hardened. "She's a person, and she saved my life." The room went still. Mr. Whitman laughed softly. "You're mistaken." Ethan looked at Naomi again. "You spilled the wine on purpose." Naomi felt trapped. If she spoke, she risked everything. If she stayed silent, she might lose her chance to protect herself. "Yes," she whispered. The word fell heavy in the room. Mr. Whitman's face changed. "I gave you a home," he said coldly. "A job. And this is how you repay me?" Naomi's eyes burned. "I was scared." "So was I," Ethan said. "And I listened." He turned to Mr. Whitman. "I'm leaving, but this is not over." Mr. Whitman smiled thinly. "Of course." Ethan stopped at the door and looked back at Naomi. "You have a daughter," he said softly. Naomi froze. "How?" "You're not as invisible as you think," Ethan replied. Then he was gone. That evening, Naomi could not shake the feeling in her chest. It followed her home. It sat with her as she cooked dinner. It watched her as she tucked Kayla into bed. Something was wrong. She folded Kayla's clothes slowly, her hands trembling without her knowing why. Then she reached for her own bag. She packed a few things, just in case. Naomi did not know what she was preparing for. She only knew she needed to be ready. Fear does that. It whispers before it screams. Later that night, just as the apartment grew quiet, a knock came at the door. Naomi froze. Not loudly, slowly, carefully. Naomi's heart jumped. She did not move. The knob turned slightly. Kayla stirred. "Mommy?" Naomi grabbed her phone and typed fast with shaking fingers. A number Ethan had slipped into her hand earlier that afternoon. "Someone is at my door." The reply came instantly. "Do not open it. I'm on my way." The knocking stopped. Footsteps faded. Naomi sank to the floor, holding Kayla tight. Minutes later, black cars pulled up outside. Men stood guard. Ethan arrived. "You're not safe here anymore," he said quietly. Naomi shook her head. "I can't just leave." He met her eyes. "Serious now. You have to," he said. "For your daughter's safety. And for yours." She looked at Kayla. That was all the answer she needed. They left before dawn. Naomi did not know where they were going. She only knew one thing. By saving a stranger, she had stepped into a world that would never let her go quietly. And somehow, Ethan Brooks was now standing between her and everything that wanted to destroy her. Naomi woke before dawn. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered. The quiet, the space, the unfamiliar ceiling above her. She sat up slowly, careful not to wake Kayla, who slept curled beside her, one small hand gripping the edge of Naomi's shirt, like a lifeline. Naomi brushed her fingers through her daughter's hair and swallowed the tight feeling in her chest. They were safe, but safety still felt fragile, like glass. Naomi stood and walked toward the window. Outside, the sky was just beginning to lighten, soft blue pushing away the darkness. The house was peaceful, guarded, far from the noise and fear they had fled. Still, her heart was heavy. Behind her, she heard footsteps. "You're up early," Ethan said quietly. She turned. He stood a few steps away, holding 2 cups of coffee. Dressed simply, no suit, no sharp edges. Just a man who looked as tired as she felt. "I couldn't sleep," Naomi admitted. "Me neither." They sat at the table, the silence between them, not uncomfortable, just honest. After a moment, Naomi spoke. "Why me?" Ethan looked at her. "What do you mean?" "You could have ignored it," she said. "You could have protected yourself and walked away. People like me, we usually get forgotten." Ethan set his cup down carefully. "I don't forget people who saved my life." Naomi let out a small breath. The truth came out slowly, piece by piece. Mr. Whitman had been afraid of losing everything: his control, his influence, his wealth. Ethan had been the final obstacle, the man whose signature would end Whitman's power for good. The dinner wasn't about friendship, Ethan said. Naomi nodded. She already knew that in her bones. I turned everything over to the authorities, Ethan continued. The bottle, the records, the messages. Mr. Whitman won't be hurting anyone again. Naomi's hands trembled slightly. And Kayla? She's safe, Ethan said firmly. I promise you that. Naomi closed her eyes. For the first time since the incident, her shoulders relaxed. Later that morning, Ethan drove them back into the city. Not to Naomi's old apartment, but to a small, clean place with light-filled windows and a playground across the street. This isn't permanent, Ethan said quickly, sensing her hesitation. Just somewhere safe until you're ready. Naomi walked through the room slowly. It wasn't luxury. It was peace. I don't want to owe you, she said. Ethan met her gaze. Then don't. Build your life here. I'll just stay out of the way. Kayla ran through the living room laughing. That decided it. Life did not become perfect overnight. Naomi still worked hard. She found a job at a community center, cleaning, organizing, helping families who reminded her of herself. People thanked her. Children waved at her. No one talked down to her. Kayla started school nearby. She made friends. She smiled again without fear. And Ethan. He stayed close, but never too close. He respected Naomi's space. He never pushed, never assumed. That mattered more than grand gestures ever could. Some evenings, they shared dinner. Other days, they didn't speak at all. Trust grew slowly. One night, months later, Naomi found Ethan sitting on the steps outside the building, staring at the city lights. Couldn't sleep? She asked. He shook his head. I keep thinking about how close I came to losing everything. Naomi sat beside him. I think about how close I came to staying silent. He looked at her then. Really looked. You changed my life, he said. Naomi shook her head. No, I just did what was right. That's what changes lives, he replied. Love didn't arrive like lightning. It arrived like warmth. In shared laughter, in Kayla's stories at dinner, in quiet moments where words weren't needed. One evening, Kayla fell asleep on the couch between them, her head resting on Naomi's arm. Ethan reached out slowly, carefully, and took Naomi's hand. She didn't pull away. Years passed. Naomi stood in a hospital hallway wearing blue scrubs, her name stitched neatly on her chest. Naomi Carter, RN. Kayla, now older, waited proudly with a handmade sign that read, Go Mommy. Ethan stood beside her. You ready? He asked. Naomi smiled. She thought of the woman she used to be quiet, invisible, afraid to breathe too loudly. And she thought of the moment that changed everything. The spilled wine, the choice, the courage. I'm ready, she said, because Naomi Carter was no longer invisible. She was seen, she was loved, and she had chosen to stay not in fear, but in truth. Moral of the story. Sometimes, the bravest thing a person can do is choose what is right, even when it puts them at risk. Naomi's story teaches us that true courage is not loud or powerful. It often comes from quiet people who act with integrity when no one is watching. Doing the right thing may cost you comfort, safety, or approval at first, but it can also save lives, change destinies, and open doors you never imagined. Kindness, honesty, and courage have a way of returning to us, sometimes as protection, sometimes as love, and sometimes as a completely new life. Never underestimate the power of one good choice. The end. Did you enjoy this story? Kindly let us know where you are watching from. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching.